There we go. There's my button. Folks are still coming in, so we're going to give a couple of minutes. Um, I am Anna Corwin. I am the chair of the Women's Spirituality Department and faculty in the department. And I'm so happy to welcome you all here. Um, in addition to everything that you are offering in the chat, it's wonderful to see you. Welcome. I see a number of folks from within our women's spirituality community. I also see folks who are new to me, who are faces I don't know yet. So welcome. And if you want to share where you're coming from or how you're joining us, please do. I would love to. I'm happy to be in community with you all. Um, Karla, are you ready for me to introduce you? Okay. I am so thrilled for this event today. This is part of our Women's Spirituality program. We have a tradition of honoring Women's History Month every year, and our honoring of Women's History Month this year, as it should be, because women's history does not is not limited to 1 month. It's going to spill over into April with our dates. So there's many things. In a minute I will put our link up in the chat so that you can join us for some other wonderful things tomorrow. Tomorrow we're co-hosting with the Division of Community Engagement and Belonging, a project workshop with Mary Ayodele, sorry, on womanist ecclesiastic sovereignty and sacred order formation in the Black Atlantic. She is a doctoral student with us. Um, we also have something on Monday, March 30th, Rooted Wisdom on tarot theory and practice, ecofeminist tarot theory and practice. And then we've got more incredible events coming up. So that link is right there in the chat. So please do join us. Thank you for being here. And now, without any more further talking, I'm so incredibly thrilled to introduce our speaker and our leader today, Karla Gómez-Pelayo, who is an alum of our master's program in women's spirituality and is an incredible scholar and activist. I'm going to read her bio here. Karla is a Chicana born in Jalisco, Mexico, which I just learned. I live in Jalisco now, and I was so excited to learn that you to learn that when we met the other day. And raised in Napa Valley, California on Patwin, Pomo, Miwok, and Onasatis land. An organic food certified intellectual, Karla has dedicated her life to growing liberatory futures and cultivating the connections to make them possible. She approaches this work through a community engaged ethos as an educator, scholar, artist, organizer, leader, and storyteller. From 2020 to 2021, Karla served on the board of directors of the Napa Farmers Market to understand the essential role of local food systems at combating hunger and expanding access for working class communities. Since 2023, she's volunteered for Rooted Santa Barbara, a disease prevention organization that equips diverse communities with culturally relevant nutrition knowledge centered on plants. Really important work. Um, Karla is a first generation scholar. She got her bachelor's in Chicana studies and ethnic studies from UC Berkeley. She taught in an ethnic studies program, K through 12. She earned her master's with us here at CIIS in the Women's Gender, Spirituality, and Social Justice program. And she is now at UC Santa Barbara getting her PhD. And I could not be more excited that she was able to join us today. This is going to be both a workshop and a collaborative presentation with you. We are going to learn from Karla and we're going to be participating. I'm so happy that she is here. We are so lucky. So welcome, Karla, and I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Corwin. And I need some Florida water that JJ John Jairo here, a comrade of mine, has made, because I'm both so excited and overwhelmed, but not in a negative way, that so many of my worlds are here in one virtual place. And as I'll share today, and for those that know me, like I love bringing people together. So to have folks from different chapters of my life join me and bear witness is a responsibility that I carry deeply and an honor. And I'm also like, kind of nervous. Actually, I'm really nervous. I think I'm also settling in too. You never know who will show up. And all that to say that I'm so grateful for this invitation and uh, to return virtually to CIIS in this role that would have not been possible without my time at CIIS. And I say that very intentionally and truthfully because uh, I had no idea or intention of getting a PhD or continuing in academia. And as I will get into my story in a moment, the master's program was very transformative to me. And I'm so honored that we also have Dr. Alka Aurora, who's a big part of why I am a vegan scholar and researcher today. That was not like her intention, that like I drew that from her work. So see a lot of colleagues from CIS and then also from UC Santa Barbara and beyond. So just want to really start with gratitude and to bear with me because once I start sharing my screen, like I can't see folks, which is always like the give and take of Zoom. So let me share my screen and share this too. If for some reason like something's not working, could maybe Dr. Corwin, you just unmute
Yeah, I
just
got you. I got you. Yeah. Yeah. I'll let
um
you know. It looks,
so if you haven't already, please join the chat, your name, pronouns, one word for how you're arriving today. I already sort of mentioned, but I'm super grateful and nervous and excited to have this conversation with you all today and to hold space for us to um, grapple with questions that I personally am trying to figure out the answers to myself. And when the invitation was extended, I sat with it and realized that I need to have these conversations with like-hearted people in terms of how are we, well, I'll speak in we, but I mean, how am I continuing to integrate the different worlds that I navigate within this institution that I'm a part of, the demands that that has, the inherent isolation that academia is set up to be, and how can I continue to counter that? And I feel like today is part of that journey and us thinking through together. So more than anything, I hope it's a conversation and an opportunity for us to think through together. As I prefaced in the flyer, I don't know all the answers, and I hope I never get to a place where I say that I do. And if I try to say that, someone humble me and stop me, because I'm always learning. Um, and with that, we will begin. So. Bearing the Flesh Embodied Scholarship for Collective Liberation, and how do we weave together the different uh, worlds that we have. And I added Braiding Sweetgrass here. It's a very pivotal book for me. Robin Wall Kimmer's teachings have been instrumental in how I think about my relationality. And what I tried to do with this presentation slash workshop was weave and integrate things rather than a linear, like, this is who I am. This is what we're doing next. And I tried to really weave because that's also been a teaching of CIS rather than compartmentalizing the different parts of me. How do I show up with all of them and try to make space for their weaving and how they intersect? And that's what most of the conversation will be in terms of how you are doing that for yourself. So our journey today, arrival and grounding, uh, introductions. I don't know how many people we have, but hopefully we can make a moment to quickly voice our who we are. Some community agreements, some intention setting, and then we'll move on to feminist framings and stories. In terms of theories of the flesh, what is it? I want us to get on the same page. So we'll do a little bit of close reading, and I'll weave my story throughout of how my scholar activist journey, which more so now I identify as a community organizer more than an activist, but how that has shifted throughout my years, my time, my life. And we'll move on to guided writing. We'll do some pair share potentially because we're kind of a big group, and then some visioning and lots of jam packs. So I'm gonna keep us going. Um, so well, I had already briefly alluded, but I really want to begin my introduction of myself with calling in my family, my ancestors, the humans, the non-humans, the more than the winged, the all of the beings. I am the daughter of Ana Isabel, the granddaughter of Enedina, and the great granddaughter of Maria de Jesus. And we've, I just, there's been a lot of recent death in my family in the last year and a half, starting with last weekend. So there's so many new photos that I keep adding to my altar of people I love that keep transitioning. So uh, really want to invoke them all here, as well as all of my academic and activist foremothers. And it's really important to know that I don't mean mothering here as a as a biological function, but more as a social practice. And my first class at CIIS was Birthing Futures with Dr. Sara Salazar and May Elaware, and that's where I've run with mothering like wording and framing ever since then of all the ways that I am mothered by so many people. I put some because there's so many people who have formed um my scholarship, the ways that I move, my activism, organizing, the dreams that I have for our multi-species world. So these are just some folks that came to heart as I was putting this together, but there's many people and I always have gratitude to those. And I extend it to all of you who are on Zoom because we're here to learn together. I recognize some of you and you are all my great teachers, as well as my, you can't see, but my dog companion Gila, who is a huge teacher on how to listen, how to love, how to feel beyond the word. And we're talking about embodiment, so I want to bring all of that in. And some community agreements. I won't go through them all, but I have them here for us that I'm drawing from Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. She has some suggestions in the book around how to be with one each other. And I don't, if we were in person, I think this would apply in a different way, but we're virtual. I hope to make space to hear from all of you. But it's a little, there's a lot of technical issues that are in the way. However, um, I I bring this up as a guiding post for how to be with one another. If we had more time, maybe we could build more trust, but hopefully there's some confianza that gets developed here. And uh, maybe I'll give y'all a moment to sort of look through these. Maybe they're new for you, but at the root, I hope that to facilitate a space where we can center like respect and love, even if we don't know each other. I wish I could see the chat, but I don't know how to click that function. I haven't figured out how to click that while I also talk and share my screen. So I'll just,
I'm monitoring the chat for
oh,
you. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
So for time papers, so I'll just leave it here. Hopefully you've taken a minute to maybe see something. But I know that if you're coming here, I trust that uh, you take this seriously and that we can be with one another in a loving way, especially in these times that continue to just be so heavy um, all over the world and nearby. So to check in and hear from all of you, it is going to be brief. So I know we probably have talkers, but to be brief and give or to make sure we have enough time and give everyone an opportunity to just like check in. I know you put in the chat, how are you arriving? Hopefully you've settled in. I feel more settled and grounded. But if you have like 30 seconds, 30 seconds, to share, um, actually, I'm inclined to say the chat, but I really want to hear from folks. Um, Maybe if you could share in you can unmute and we'll just go through. And if you could just say your name, say it out loud, and then just answer the uh, third bullet point. And then if in the chat, you can let us know some of your roles and your commitments. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But just hold on to like, what are the roles that you have rather than saying, what do you do? Which I hate. Like, what roles do you have? For example, I am a student. I'm also first and foremost a daughter. I am a mother figure to my non-human companion. I'm an organizer. I am a friend. I'm a sister. So, what are these commitments that you have and roles? And you could think about that or put it in the chat. But if for our check-in, if folks can just say one thing, engage our senses. So let's invoke our senses into this space, even though it's a virtual space, like let's call them in. What's either something that you can see, taste, smell, touch, and then if you could share your name. So my name is Karla, and I can feel the warmth of my hands. I don't know if Anna, you were able to maybe call on folks. I'm not sure. I can't see folks, but
Sure, I can call on people.
is that
Yeah,
fine?
sure. Anyone can say pass, but I'm just going to look at who is here with video on. Um, I see next to me in the little video space, I see Sergio.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sergio Gonzalez. I use él, him pronouns. And I think for me, I can feel el escalofrío. I don't know how to, the goosebumps, I guess, right? So, like, I'm inspired by what we're going to dive into. And so I'm just excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. Welcome.
Welcome, Stephanie Martinez.
Buenos dias, Stephanie Martinez. I can taste and smell my coffee right now.
Mm.
Welcome, Eduardo.
Hi, Eduardo, he, they pronouns. I'm currently in Lenape, Hoking land, also known as New York City. Um, my role, I think, is I've always held a student teacher role that I'm leaning into. I presently feel tired because I flew in, just flew in from a conference and I'm taking the day off. And I also wanted to not miss this and support Carla. I'm feeling tired, also grounded in this moment. So it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Welcome, Eduardo. Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren. My pronouns are she, her. Um, I'm just like wanting to feel open and receptive in my body. Yeah, Carla is someone who entered my life very recently, and I'm very grateful to join today.
Thanks, Lauren.
Welcome, Lauren. Karen Villanueva.
Hmm.
Hi, I'm Karen Villanueva. I use she, ella pronouns. I am in San Francisco on Ohlone land, and I'm feeling the pressure of the body of my little chihuahua next to me, who likes to get as close as she possibly can wherever I am. And so I feel very blessed to have her here. And I'm
Welcome, Karen.
excited, Carla. Thank you.
I also just want to share, Karen, Dr. Villanueva is also instructor with us in our program in women's spirituality and also a graduate. She earned her PhD with us. So just welcome, part of the community. Thank you, Karen, for being here. Let's see. Marcelo.
Hello, I'm Marcelo. I'm currently in Oakland, and I can feel my chest expanding and contracting as I breathe.
Welcome, Marcelo. Nina, welcome.
Hi, I'm Nina, she, her. I am on my land is the Isle of the Jean Charles Biloxi, Chitimacha, Choctaw, basically Southwest Louisiana. I can taste the salmon I just ate. I feel grateful to be here. That's it.
Thank you, Nina. Welcome. Alka, another core faculty member.
Hi, my name is Alka. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a professor in the Women's Spirituality program, and one of my commitments is to expanding our social justice movements to include the non-human world. And I can smell and taste my mocha, which is, of course, vegan. And it is so wonderful to be here with you, Karla, and everyone.
Thank you, Alka. Luna.
Hi, I'm Luna, and one thing that I can feel right now is the softness and tenderness in my heart.
Welcome, Luna. Thank you. Amanda Roma.
Hi, I'm Amanda Roma. I use she, they, ella pronouns. I feel the tightness in my throat of llanto, gratitude, gusto to see Carla here. And I'll put my roles in the chat. Gracias.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda. Narika.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nadika, pronoun she, hers. One thing I can taste is the remnants of my peanut butter smoothie.
Thank you.
And John.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Jairo, they, them, he, him. And I also have the remnants of my smoothie. And I usually put peanut butter in it, but this time I ran out, so it's just berries. And I'm a student. I'm committed to healing, reconnecting, remembering, creating, uniting.
Thank you. Welcome, John. And welcome to everyone who has your videos off. I'm going to allow you maybe to use the chat because your videos are off. I won't call on you, and I'll turn it back over to Karla.
Thank you so much. And I still appreciate y'all sharing these forms of embodiment. And I also understand that, or want to acknowledge like how hard it is to also feel. And everything is working against us to do so, to feel numb, to be desensitized. And I struggle with myself with so much, as John Heidel says, like saturation of information, of difficult things that continue to happen. So I feel like part of my work is helping people feel, and part of this greater collective that I hope brought you here is to this embodiment of self and in our bodies with others too, and the relationality. So thank you all for sharing you're engaging your senses in this. And then we will, I don't know. I think we're maybe we'll do this fast. Obviously, well, one of my intentions, as I mentioned, was to really think and vision alongside of you. And I was as a facilitator, I'm always curious like what brings people to the space. I know what I was hoping to do with others, and what I did not practice is how to go back between the internet and the Zoom room. But if you could, I'm going to put the link here, and we're going to use this later, so it'll be good just to share the tool and how to use it. And this should just take us a few minutes. Let me go to this chat. I'm going to put a link here, and if you could click on it, you will see. If you can't, that's fine, and you can just keep using the chat as your form of engagement. I want to provide multiple ways for people to engage. So if you want to go onto the website, you can do so. If you want to stay in the chat, that's fine. If you want to stay in your own mind and thoughts, you totally can. There's always options. But I was trying to think, how do we make this engaging given that it's on Zoom too? So, oh, I shared the wrong thing. So where did my link go? So this is an open source. I found this tool. You're welcome to use it. Jamboard does not exist anymore. So here's like an open source collaborating tool. And I see a bunch of little um, cursors. So that's great. And this is up here on the top, if you could see my mouse, there's like adding text right here. You can draw. You can literally, if you have a picture or a graphic on your desktop, you can just drop it in. Ooh, I love that sound. The bold moose. Yes. Um, you can drop, it's pretty user friendly. So if you have whatever image or word you have in terms of an intention that you came with, I really want to invoke all of that. So you're welcome to, you can also zoom in and out. You can unmute yourself and tell me, and I'll add it happily myself. But you can, for example, grab the text box. Oops. Grab the text box. Testing, testing, and then add something here. And my intention, one of my other intentions is to also show rather than tell, and that I tried to find tools that we could use within our own workspaces or organizing spaces, because it's, yeah, I'll just kind of, yeah, so there's vulnerability. You can also draw something. There's a heart, ease, peace, presence, community care. There's some photos of the non-humans. I added the stuff in the middle as things that we're invoking. I added some sage, I added a candle. I've been feeling very tender myself and navigating grief, so I wanted to bring that in. I brought this bridge called My Back, which was one of the readings that we'll close read, that we'll look through together, and some sweetgrass to balance the bitter, the hard to swallow, the painful, the grief. So we'll be here for maybe another 2 minutes, or a minute, 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to to start nerding out together. And I'll just keep reading them as I see. Collective patience and feeling. Learn together and love on Karla. That's so kind. Thank you. May we always love on each other. Just learn how to move through grief and longing towards inquiry that follows the teachings of my non-human companions. And that contributes to collective liberation. Absolutely. Maybe keep learning how to do that and support each other. Dementor's grief and rage. Oof, I don't know how to pronounce that, but Persephone's transformation. So there's another last minute here. And if you need more time, you can be on it while I transition to the presentation. But yeah, maybe start with it. The names are so interesting because they're all like clandestine. So we have Vigorous Wolverine. It's kind of funny. Swift fly. Balance, harmony, reconnect with community, family, and self. All right, so time rich. Oof. Dang. Ooh, we got different fonts too. Y'all are creative. Tapping into community wisdom. Yes, yes, me. Thank you. All right. If I missed something, we're gonna come back to this towards the end and do some visioning together. So I'm gonna keep us moving, but this is available if you want to like doodle or draw or add something else that comes up, you can come back to this. But now we're going to pivot in to back to the presentation, and we're going to start with or as a reminder, in this next section, we're going to close read Moraga's work, and I'm going to weave my lived experiences and how how my lived experiences have informed my theories of the flesh and my own more like academic grapplings with adding to the conversation around theory of the flesh and how I'm thinking that through with my own research in my PhD program at the moment. And one of the guiding questions for this part was drawing from Chicana lesbian writer Shiri Moraga's Theory in the Flesh, how do spirituality, academia, and activism intersect as sites of embodied knowledge production that emerge from lived experiences? That's super long and jam-packed, but what it's really getting at and was getting me to think about is how do I continue to, like I mentioned, weave the different worlds. And it's been really hard. It's been really hard to try to meet the demands of academia, of the PhD, of the isolation that comes with it, and my continuously trying to counter that with co-working on Zoom, with joining different writing spaces. There's folks from the Hota Writing Lab that I've joined, and that's been a really generative writing space. I mean, I did a whole master's on Zoom, so there's different ways that we can connect. And I started thinking through how does this apply to my own lived experiences. So to make sure that we're on the same page, and something that Profe Chela Sandoval, who wrote Methodology of the Oppressed, and it's a really a canonical text for decolonial feminism and reading power and understanding how to just like a guidebook for today in these really fascist, super postmodern times. And one of the things that she's taught me is to make sure that we slow read and we take time to get on the same page. And it's not about answering the question, being the first to answer the question, or acknowledge, or just like breezing through text, and maybe there's words people didn't understand. And I'm talking about theory of the flesh, and it's something that is more newer in my life, and I want us all to get on the same page on like, what do I mean by this in terms of what does the text say, then what do I say about it, and then maybe what do you say about it too, which is knowledge production that we all are engaging in all the time. So in this text, which is right there, but it's also here, I mean, it's the same picture, this fish called My Bag. This is 4th edition. I can't recall right now when originally it was published, but I know folks in this chat know, so you can drop into the chat. But the 4th edition came out in 2015, and one thing that Chela, because everyone's in conversation with one another, so Chela is in relation with all of these folks that I'm bringing in today, and one of the other things she's taught me is to always read the epigraphs, and the epigraphs are the little, like, it's the text that it's usually a quote before the formal text, and it's indented to the right. And to be honest, I used to just like kind of breeze through them, but she's taught me that those are intentional, like nodal points for us to stop through and look at. So in this next section, we're going to read this, and then we'll read the excerpt of Theory in the Flesh and pause for any clarity and questions so that we can then continue to use this, at least for now, and maybe beyond this session too. So could someone read this quote by Barbara Cameron, an Indigenous poet? You could just unmute yourself and read. This is the epigraph to Theory in the Flesh. And we got educators and students and all kinds of people, so
I am not interested in pursuing a society that uses analysis, research, and experimentation to concretize their vision of cruel destinies for those bastards of the pilgrims, a society with arrogance rising, moon in moon in oppression, and sun in destruction. Barbara Cameron, Hunk Papa Lakota poet.
Thank you so much, Dr. Villanueva, who I also took a course with. Any thoughts on this quote, or could someone maybe read back what you think it says, or what you're taking from this?
I can jump in.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is the author is claiming her own internal process of decoloniality.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
I'll go.
Yeah.
What I hear her saying is that she doesn't want to create anything or pursue anything in a society that's going to take her research and use it to harm others. And I love the play on astrology too at the end there. Because, you know, a lot of times we look at how people are based on their rising and moon and sun and how they behave. And so I really like that analogy right there. That's really, I snickered when that was read out loud. It was so good.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. And we'll come back to this towards the end in terms of like our visioning of how do we make sense of this in how we integrate ourselves and how we integrate all the pieces of ourselves, astrologically, cosmologically, physically, emotionally. So thank
Can
you
I
for.
say something, Carla?
Yes, of course, Eduardo.
For me, this reminds me of when I was looking at graduate school programs and just what I didn't want and thinking about what I wanted in a graduate program.
Yeah, that's real. Thank you so much for naming that. And so as the epigraph to this I know there's a lot of tags here. Oh, Alka, yes, please. I love the engagement. Talk to us.
Sorry, I don't want to take up too much time and space. I mean, I definitely agree with what everyone said, and I love the message behind what she's saying. I was a little bit like stopped in my tracks at the use of the word bastards, not because I have a problem with strong language, but because what its history is, right? And I think the history of that word is actually very patriarchal because it means child born to parents out of wedlock. And so I don't know that stopped, but I'm glad you used it anyway because I think we don't want to throw, a really great message out because of that necessarily. But I did want to flag that.
Thank you. Thank you for naming that. Actually, when I read it, this morning, I was like, ooh, it like there's an effective bodily response to that. And I totally forgot to. So thank you for like taking us there. And hopefully folks put in the chat because I can't for the life of me find where, like when this was published, it's also like contextually, like the times of when work gets published and maybe it was a normalized word then, but I really just resonate with what you shared, Alka, as someone who was also born out of wedlock and like having to really unlearn that language for myself to be like, actually, I was born out of love. So thank you for that. So I understand there's a lot of text on the textbook page. It's a page, but I think oh, I can't find it anymore. But it's a page. It's this part here. I know it's really tiny, so I put it here to see, and I put the whole thing for its contextual framing of oftentimes we just take the beginning of this, but it's part of a greater politicizing that the authors are doing and naming the material conditions that develop the material, the physical, the spiritual, the sexual, all of the ways of being that inform how we move in the world and like the politic that this is offering us. So Maybe if we could get a few folks to read, if we were in a classroom, we do a little popcorn style, but maybe there's still ways to do it virtually. I can start us off, and then maybe if I can get two people, one to read the second paragraph and one to read a third. But we'll stop. And if there's any like questions, I'm gonna ask for some folks to like teach back what you are hearing say, just to make sure that we at least have the same footing for this, so that everything else makes sense, at least now in the period that we have. So this is, if you have the book, you're more than welcome to read it. It's on page 19, but it's here for all of us to have access. So I'll begin. A theory in the flesh means one where the realities of our skin. Oh no, Siri. Sorry. Oh, I don't know how Siri came on here. Just read my book myself. A theory in the flesh means one of the physical realities of our lives, our skin color, the land or concrete we grew up on, our sexual longings, all fused to create a politic born out of necessity. Here, we attempt to bridge the contradictions in our experience. We are the colored in a white feminist movement. We are the feminists among the people of our culture. We are often the lesbians among the straight. We do this bridging by naming ourselves and by telling our stories in our own words.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Can't make this up, damn it.
Okay, the theme.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, please.
The theme echoing throughout most of these stories is our refusal of the easy explanation to the conditions we live in. There is nothing easy about a collective cultural history of what Mitsuye Yarnada calls unnatural disasters. The forced encampment of indigenous people on government reservations, the forced encampment of Japanese American people during World War I, Two, the forced encampment of our mothers as laborers in factories, in fields, in our own and other people's homes as paid or unpaid slaves.
Closer to home, we are still trying to separate the fibers of experience we have had as daughters of struggling people. Daily, we feel the pull and tug of having to choose between which parts of our mother's heritages we want to claim and wear, and which parts we have severed to cloak us from the knowledge of ourselves. Quote, "My mother and I work to unravel the knot," end quote. Levin Morales. This is how our theory develops. We are interested in pursuing a society that uses flesh and blood experiences to concretize a vision that can begin to heal our, quote, wounded knee. Christos, Moraga, and Ansardua.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Gabriela. And let's stop here for a moment. Maybe you can go back to maybe a word that didn't make sense, or a phrase that stood out to you, or maybe something like the example in the previous epigraph, a word that made you maybe jolt or pause. And I'll just stop talking for a moment.
I have one.
Yes, please.
Okay. As daughters of mothers' heritages, we want to claim and wear, and which parts have served to cloak us from the knowledge of ourselves.
Thank you.
And I say that because my mother died when I was 2, and so I'm fully assimilated, institutionalized, U.S. citizen with a formal education and a PhD program. I've been thoroughly institutionalized, and so I have been cloaked from the knowledge of my heritage, the knowledge of myself.
Thank you. So what is the theory in the flesh? from what you're reading from here, or maybe you engage with this and how does it show up for you? Like maybe we can get some folks to share. Maybe this is new for some, maybe it's not new for some. I know it's not new for some, but maybe it is for others. But what is this saying? What are they saying in this that this theory is? Or your reading of it?
I can jump in. My interpretation of this is that social difference and power are often written on the body, and how can we mobilize that for something alternative and generative?
Really wish I could see all the Zoom boxes, but I can't. But I see this as a returning to self and body too. That is one way. And we started with the question about senses because it's to theorize from the self, to theorize from the body is to feel, is to bring awareness to the warmth of another body on our body, like someone talked about their dog, to taste the after of something that was previously there. But in this case, also speaking to the sexuality of this, of the like making space in all of these hegemonic dominant spaces uh, for the sexual longings for the sexual longings, for the different skin colors, for the multiplicity of the self, beyond the binaries that we use and move in the world. I do see a hand. Nina, is that your hand? I can only see oh.
Yeah, but you can finish what you were saying.
Just get out real quick to see if I can make y'all's boxes bigger. Actually, I don't want to. I'll just continue to share.
You can finish what you were saying. I can wait.
I mean, I think I kind of can't remember what I was saying, but maybe you're welcome to though.
Well, what Luna say resonated with me because my mother didn't die when I was 2, but I was taken from her when I was 2, and at 58, I'm trying to find out who she was. And like your introduction when you named your mom and your grandmother and who they were is basically what I'm doing right now. Basically, why I'm in this space is to reclaim being my mother's daughter. But at the same time, when I'm reading this, I'm reflecting on the event that happened this weekend in Nigeria, where they had a festival for raping women. And it hurt me. It hurt me because I'm like, we're seeing that, but our femininity has been attacked for I don't know how long. And this talked to me so much.
Thank you for sharing that. And we are in a moment. I mean, we feel like we've always been, but there's a bigger spotlight right now on all that people, because all kinds of people experience gendered violence, but especially women right now, and all the ways that folks have survived. So I've been feeling that deeply recently, which I also hear in what you're saying. So part of why I wanted to start here is to look at theory, look at what people have written, and how do we use that to in the day-to-day, and how do we return to self to theorize from here, not just from the outside, but to feel and understand our intuition, to center that, to whatever things you need to center in your life. But for me, has been to center my my integrity, or like how when I feel that something is wrong, even though I can't explain it, when I walk in a place and it feels uncomfortable, like to pay attention back to my body and to the ways that I then theorize from it and how I've been doing that all my life. I often say that I became a feminist out of necessity because of my father. And uh, I didn't want to necessarily be speaking out against a very scary figure, but it was a necessity for my survival, I felt as a kid, to speak back, to be what Sara Ahmed calls the killjoy, the feminist killjoy, and to name the things that people won't name, the elephants in the room, which elephants are great, so I should probably use a different analogy because, anyways. So there's a no more thoughts here. I'll take us to kind of just how I've been forming and shaping the ways that I've theorized from my own lived experiences, because I know that not all of you know who I am, and I just want to give a brief into that. But is there anyone else that wants to share anything regarding the text that we have on the screen? Okay, so we already stopped for clarity. Or if there's questions too, and maybe I understand there's a lot, so if there's a question or a clarity you have, you could totally put it on the chat. I invite people to respond to each other. There's a lot of knowledge in this space. That's why we are all here, hopefully able to contribute. So I just wanted to briefly share a little bit about who I am and the ways that I've been not only producing knowledge, but also reconnecting to what I do know and building, moving, organizing from such a space. I didn't realize the introduction was gonna be read, but very briefly, I was born in Mexico. I'm a first-gen immigrant kid and product of the public school system. I can't use my cursor, but anyways, it's kind of like a little trail and journey. Loved school, and then high school things got really confusing as I was trying to fit in, find my place, and grapple with my own embodiment of being very white passing and speaking Spanish at home and English at school, and trying to be cool, whatever that meant at the time. And really what it was later on, I became a teacher and realized like we're all trying to just really figure out where we belong and how to make sense of the world and how to bridge different worlds. And I didn't know or have the tools at the time as I was young, so I've tried to find it in different ways. The backdrop of this presentation is my high school transcript where I was failing, but not because I didn't have gifts to learn or to theorize, but because I didn't have the right teachers, the right spaces, the right mentorship, the right really much of anything. It was really Eurocentric. I had really racist teachers. I was placed in courses that were not in like general level courses, and so just really wanted to honor like my own younger self and the many selves, and doing what I thought was best at the time. And it was a very pivotal moment when I arrived to community college, which is what's the photos on the right hand side. And that's, I know it's a huge jump from sort of these different pictures in the middle and me trying to find my way. Also finding ethnic studies and learning more about myself, learning more about my identity, both in tied to Mexico and then more diasporically here in the US as an undocumented immigrant at the time. And I became a community organizer in community college. I was not ready to go to a four-year university. I also hated school at the time. And community college was, well, Napa Valley College in my own community where I already had a network, and that provided a second opportunity for me to thrive. I learned that I loved learning. I just wasn't learning interesting things previously. So I also know the United Farm Workers, there's a lot going on right there, so we can't get into that in the moment. But at the time, there was a lot of organizing that I was doing, and I was really trying to figure out how to organize from my own flesh at the time. I mean, these are words that I'm trying to go back to name. I wasn't naming it as such, but in my early 20s, community organizing was centered around like a very militancy, like we got to stay up all night, we got to do all of this for the community, and it compromised our health oftentimes. We weren't sleeping. I was also in a really big high of just understanding activism with the capital A. And I say that because I did have more of a leading role. I was the MC, I was organizing conference, but always collectively. I mean, co-organizing everything. But that's, I think, often when I thought about organizing, what came to mind is these big moments, these big things, these big experiences. And at the time, thinking about my immigration status, my white passing skin, and the resources that I was seeing available as a student, and super inspired by, this was in the early 2000s, or no, like, yeah, no, mid to like 2010. There was a lot of undocumented youth organizing across different campuses, and it took going to one conference by Ideas in San Francisco State to realize, wait, we could do this too. Like, why couldn't we do this in our community? So activism took a different role when I was younger, and learning how to leverage resources, space, staff, parking, technology to organize free conferences for undocumented students and educator allies, and how that took like a huge network, from selling tamales to raise money to pay people to speak. Like, there's so many parts. And for those that have organized conferences or events or birthday parties, like, there's a lot of roles. And I stop here to bring this up because organizing looks different for everybody. Insert activism, if you want to call it that. I think I've moved away from activism and call it more community organizing. But I bring that up because what I can do now looks different. The capacity that I have looks different. The shift that I'm trying to make around what are non-negotiables looks different. The more of a back seat that I've taken because of the different responsibilities and commitments that I have now. And when Dr. Corwin asked me sort of the invitation for this, and led me to, or was we were having a conversation around activism, and I was just reflecting on how activism with a little a is more of what I identify with now, and wanted to stop and highlight the work that people are doing in the many ways that it looks, because I'm hoping, or my intention with bridging my community and scholarly endeavors is that I'm weaving them so closely that it doesn't feel like they're separated, or that I'm doing this when I'm here and I'm doing that when I go here, but that I'm always organizing and trying to leverage what I have access to meet whatever need is coming up. And there's a lot that people are doing, especially right now. There's a lot of ICE out of different places, and community watch for anti-ICE. There's food banks in light of benefits being cut. There's so much around survivors and listening to people. So there's just a lot that is going on at this time. And at the time that Moraga wrote Theory in the Flesh, she names in the piece that we read some of the context politically that was going on at the time. So I wanted to just invoke and pause here to, if anyone wanted to name other works that you're either really inspired by or that you're doing yourself, to just uplift them for maybe a minute here, or if you want to put in the chat. Which I guess I can't see the chat.
If it's okay, I'm going to say I just am having this thought about this framework this conversation that you mentioned that you and I had about the little A activist and the big A activist and and that can I mean, I certainly talking to students, being in community, there can be such a feeling of like, am I doing enough? Have I earned my big A? Can sometimes feel like something that I hear, or you mean not literally those words, but that feeling. But there's something deeply feminist and deeply radical about what you're describing, the little A feminism or little A activism as a way of being that I see connected to the readings that you're offering us. And also, I can't help but see this connected to the conversations that have emerged, the really powerful conversations around Dolores Huerta and what it means, and like what it is when we focus on leaders and offer that big A to someone, and what it means to organize in ways that we are in community and always organizing and being the work that we want to see, and those kind of challenging conversations around leadership and power, and then how we move and how we move in collectives, and just making those little connections. And thank you for starting that conversation.
Thank you so much. And one of the shifts, and I think it's just part of my own growth, is like taking people off pedestals, which I think was very how I got politicized earlier on as a younger person. And through time and the gray hairs and the wisdom, realizing, and what's going on in this moment, realizing that it has to be that there's I think going to be always a colonial urge to prop up someone, but how do we counter and continue coming back to expanding it for like the whole movement that makes things possible, all the people, the beings, the little things, the big things that are necessary to make the big things happen, and to counter the charismatic leader trope. And that's been a huge area of growth for me, as I've gotten older, as I've realized the harm that some of these folks have committed, the abuse of power, and there's so much there with what you named, Dr. Corwin. So I really appreciate you naming that, and I hope that all of us can take time to sit in conversation with folks, to really think through what this means, and that I believe we're all already organizing. And we're all doing the little A activism, organizing in the different spaces. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. The fact that we are here is a reflection of that. So even if it means calling someone, checking in, sometimes I don't have capacity for long conversations and I just text love you to friends that I haven't talked to. I try to, someone said, habit stacking, like, so when you're already doing something, do something else, and that's part of it too. And when I'm walking, I'm then trying to make a phone call to someone, my mom or my brother, to check in. So I want to also I guess why I wanted to start with where I was to where now is to also demystify that activism or organizing is something that's separate, to really come back to how we're already engaged in it, and to acknowledge that. So moving on very kind of quickly, we already talked about sort of where I've been, and just wanted to give flowers to the MA program for helping me become an academic and become a activist scholar, and I know what I'm trying to say there is to learn how to integrate the different parts of myself without separating them, or feeling like I need to compartmentalize them. So both, I bring this all up again here to just honor the different people and places that have taught me how to mobilize. All of the students that I've had the honor working with then and now teach me, especially with social media, like how quickly we can share news, how quickly we can learn, and the different spaces that exist in getting me to critically think more around my own privilege, and then also the ways that the tensions that show up. So I kind of have been alluding to this, but nowadays in my PhD program, I'm a third-year student in the PhD program in Chicana and Chicano Studies at UC Santa Barbara, and I have these ongoing conversations with my comrades around how do we integrate, how do we balance, and part of that is through my vegan scholarship, and that started at CIIS. It started in just different courses, and Dr. Aurora has a lot to do with it. And getting me excited about contributing to the knowledge production about veganism within my own Mexican and Chicanx community, which is what I'm seeking to do today. And sometimes the little activism looks like, did I sleep and did I eat? And sometimes it means showing up to different events. Now I'm part of a union. Now I'm part of supporting to teach college students. It looked this quarter like taking them food during our courses to make sure they had a snack. The spectrum is so wide, and I want to invoke that there's many ways that we're doing, even showing up today to learn for whatever intention brought you here that was named is part of that work, and it's ongoing, because when we start looking at integrating this as a movement, we realize it's like a long journey. It's not like moments, but it's movements. So part of why or to pivot, that was a rough pivot there, but I forgot I had this slide. So today I'm trying to figure out or examining the rise of contemporary production and consumption and cultural impact of Mexican vegan food, and how for me that brings in the material conditions of different beings. It brings in the multi-species. There's health implications, especially as I continue experiencing so much familial premature death. I can't help but think about food, think about access, think about resources, think about racism, think about structural systems that end lives sooner. And I'm grappling with all of that in this current chapter of my life, and I'm trying to stay connected to people, to community, while I'm doing that. And one of the thought partners in this is Moraga's Theory in the Flesh, and how her work is helping me think through veganism as a form of theory in the flesh, not only my flesh, but the flesh of others, what I consume, the circle of life. And part of what keeps me here is all of you and trying to do this collectively in community, co-working, with staying connected to local organizations. So we're not going to pivot to thinking about your theories of the flesh, and I was trying to model like mine briefly around how I've been thinking through this and how I've been theorizing from my body and from myself and from all of this collective community that has formed and continues to shape who I am and how I move in the world, with some writing exercises. The the next part here, there's 5 questions. And I maybe should have put them all up so you could choose, but we're going to spend just a few minutes on them. And this next moment will be for you to, so as I'm talking, if you can grab either a piece of paper or a journal, an iPad, another Word document, and the invitation will be to write. You can draw, you can move if you want, whatever feels good for you in thinking about, at least for this moment, you don't have to take this theorization and framing beyond, but that's available if you want to. But to reflect on how you're making sense of tensions, of how you're making sense of desires around integrating the different parts of you that may feel a little fragmented or disjointed, or maybe how they are already connected. So we'll spend like 2 minutes per question. there's really four. And then we'll do a pair share. I don't know if we're able to maybe get into little groups, or maybe we'll just take volunteers. I need to see how many people we have here and how we would do that. And then we'll end with visioning together and thinking through how we can do this, continue to do this work in maybe a more integrated way. And then if there's any questions. So hopefully
I'm
we already
happy to help you get people into breakout rooms if you choose to do that, but whatever you, just let me know what you need.
Thank you so much. All right, so now it's to you. I did so much talking. I want y'all to spend time with yourselves and sitting with some of these questions. So the first question, I'm gonna get out and put it in a small way. Oops, So I'm gonna keep it small so I could put a timer. But here's the first question. What are sites of your embodied knowledges? So thinking through is like, I don't want to, yeah, like where do these sites show up for you? Is it your intuition? Is it your sexuality? I mean, there's many things, not just like one, but like what are these sites, just to get you to name them if you haven't thought about it in that way. Don't know how to put the timer.
Karla, just to confirm, at this point, you're inviting us to do a little bit of writing around this,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
So we're
thank you.
pivoting for the next 10 minutes here. Thank you. In guided writing, which it could look like drawing, it could look like a list, it could look like words, it could look like whatever you feel called to do, but just questions hopefully to get that are generative and getting you to think about your own experiences and how you weave. Let's see, am I sharing, are you seeing my whole screen?
We are seeing yeah, it's not in slide mode right now. It was earlier, but yeah, now it's the whole, we can see your little display of the whole.
Probably okay, there. I was going to put a timer, but I'm not quite sure how to do that at the moment. So I'll keep time on my, yeah, I'm not sure how to do that. So another minute here. I'll just keep time. And if you don't want to answer any of these questions, you don't have to. If you want to take a screenshot or note the question and come back to it another time, you're so more than welcome to do that. Put some light music in the background. Right, and if you can maybe find a moment of pause in the next 30 seconds, we'll move on to the next question. So drawing on that first question, now, how have these sites of embodied knowledges either informed your praxis, which can include your spirituality, academic, and activist commitments? And by praxis, it's the intersecting point where it all meets, the theory, the reflection, the action. How does it all, the places where it all comes together? Yes, I will also put in the, can you all see the screen?
We can see the screen. You may want to do the presenter mode or the play mode so that it's a little bit bigger. There we go. Oh, and now we can hear the music again. And I think Karen in the chat is asking if you could just repeat it out loud also.
How my chat is covering. Or if someone could read it. Actually, no, you're writing. Sorry. How have these sites of embodied knowledges informed your praxis, which can include your spirituality, academic, and activist commitment? Another 30 seconds here, maybe for a thought to wrap up, or a question that you need to come back flesh these out, but hopefully it's just getting your mind to think about body knowledge. The next question is, where or when have you felt tension in your body knowledges, activist scholarship, and institutional expectation? Moments where having to choose, or moments, or just tensions that you've been experiencing lately that you can name and possibly share out later.
I wanna be free, so free, like a feather blowing through the breeze, like a bird in a tree, like a dolphin in the sea. I wanna fly high, so high, like an eagle in the sky. And when my time has come, I'll let it all go with a sigh. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. I wanna be free, be me, be the only being that I see. Not to rise and not to fall,
Wrapping up
be at one with love and all.
your
There is
point
no
here,
high,
crying,
no
conclusion
low, there's
around
nowhere else to
tensions.
go except
Carla,
inside
sorry to interrupt. I'm
your
having a little trouble
heart
hearing you with the
and be
music
just who
on.
you are.
I love the music, but
Pachamama,
I'm having trouble making out your voice.
Can't turn off. Thank you. I will.
to the place where I belong.
I will. There.
Pachamama.
Need to figure out later how to be able to do both things, but let me go back to the presentation. There we go. Where did we? Actually, that's there. We're back. Okay. All right, so we're gonna transition now to the final question for today. And it is, what are your quote theories of the flesh, and how can they guide you to integrate all your commitments or roles? Early on, I asked you to reflect on your commitments or roles. I like to think about that rather than like my research interest or like the things that I do, but rather what am I committed to? And that can be well, as I've demonstrated, that is my family, that is the scholarship I'm doing, the different relations. And if you are already doing so, you could also reflect on that. One of the challenges I have found, even as I'm trying to figure it out, is how do I integrate? How do I balance showing up for the multiple commitments that I have, which includes my family, which also includes making progress on my research. So just letting you reflect on this for a moment here, in terms of what are your own theories of the flesh. Maybe you've thought about that before, maybe you haven't. If you were to do so, how could you theorize from your own body, yourself, and are they integrated? Maybe not. Could also put questions you might have on like, how do you do this potentially, if weaving it all together feels a little too much or it's not coming to you. Right. And if you can start wrapping up your thought or finding a place to pause. And if you can, well, the last thing was just if there was anything else, maybe I didn't ask something specific that you are thinking about, you can make a note of that. Any reflection, maybe just anything that has come up for you. But in this next moment, the invitation is for you to share whatever feels comfortable or most important from the reflections to share to someone, and for others to be able to witness, and maybe their questions, maybe it's the tensions, maybe it's overall your experience on navigating multiple worlds and how maybe it's not integrated at all. And maybe feels really fragmented, or maybe how it is integrated, or anything else that has come up. And if while we're witnessing, if folks could just listen without interrupting. And yeah, what I am unsure to do at this moment is if we should get into breakout rooms. I see folks with their camera turned off, which is totally fine. I just don't want to place people who maybe want to share in a group and they don't want to. Dr. Corwin, do you have a suggestion for that? Should we well, the option is one, we could take volunteers on folks to share whatever they feel comfortable, or option two, you could be in a little breakout room and share and also listen.
How much time would you want to use this? Or yeah, how much time are you wanting for this activity?
I think like 10 minutes would be good. Well, 45. And then the last part is just some visioning together. And if I didn't really put in space for questions, but if there were any questions.
Okay. How about we do breakout rooms though, and I could do 3 people per room, maybe, or 3 to 4 per room. And then any rooms, if there's anyone who's alone, they can just come back here with you and me. How does that sound? Yeah?
No? See your head shaking? No?
Sorry,
I see different reactions. I see some heads nodding,
Okay.
and then I see some
I see.
So we can also stay in this big group and then just take volunteers. My intention with the other time was just so that folks all had a space, but if we're totally okay with staying together, and we can all bear witness to each other too, if that's maybe
I see nodding from the couple of people who have their
Yeah.
videos on, so maybe let's do that.
Let's do that. So whoever, the floor is open, whoever wants to share anything that has come up, whatever you feel comfortable, something you've been thinking about, something that came up for you, whatever you'd like.
I can share.
Oh, yeah, please, JJ.
And then I can pass it to Karen after me.
Mm-hmm.
So I drew, because you know I'm a drawer. I was thinking about different parts of where my embodied knowledge lives. I thought about my belly. I thought about dancing and intuitive movement and responding to music. I thought about the mind-heart connection. I thought about how ancestral knowledge comes in our body through both trauma, through both wisdom, and needing to discern what is anxiety and what is intuition. I thought about my own experiences. And then I thought about how I integrate praxis into my work. I thought about slowing down and allowing like elements to speak thinking about subtle voices like the water. We're so lucky to live by the ocean in Chumash territory, and there's just so much ocean and water and the beaches. So I go there, and that's where I get my biggest inspiration for writing, for answering some really hard questions. And then tensions that I find is that sometimes like different institutions require us to move really fast and want quick responses, and there's a high demand. So we are forced to be disembodied. And then I find that tension in trying to like cultivate a slower rhythm so I can be in harmony and balance with my own body, with my own health, mentally, physically, spiritually, and wanting to slow down, and how like kind of intuition comes when you actually slow down and your nervous system is calm and soft. So in all that, trying to find integration with like all the things that are demanding so much attention of us, and just hoping and trying to cultivate like a sacred sovereignty, discipline, purpose, advocacy, so that I can have more balance and harmony in my life. But yeah, that's what came up through this practice. It's a good question. Good question.
Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, did I freeze? Oh yeah. Thank you for sharing so much, John Haidel. Professor Villanueva.
Hi. You know what came up for me was something that I've just discovered. It's called human design. And you plug in your numbers, your date of birth, whatever. It's supposed to be this combination of like Enneagram and astrology and whatever. But what came up when I did my human design is that I'm a generator, and generators feel. They're about 30% of the population, and they go by feeling. And it's just so true for me in my life, that my life may not look logical to the outside, but it's paths that I follow that are true to me, like being plant-based, like following this Tibetan Buddhist goddess Tara throughout. And all of my questions seem to reflect this, well, I followed Tara. I made some prayers. I got some financial aid. It was the topic of my dissertation. And then it went on to be my career in chaplaincy, etc. So I liked these questions because they caused me to see this thread. Just a few days ago, I had a friend who, she didn't mean it as a critique, but just looking at my life, and I've been working about 50 years. And so looking at my life, she said, wow, you've done a lot of jobs. And I have. But all those jobs kind of seem to go on the same thread, what seemed true to me. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. I wanted to share this human design, if anybody wants to Google it and figure themselves out. It was pretty neat, and I think, like all of these things, it's a guide to help you, but not a guide to hinder you. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else feel called to share? We have a few minutes left here. You're also welcome to use the chat if things came up for you there, but if one other person, there's space for maybe one other person, if anyone does feel called. And if not, that means we have more time for visioning. So I'm gonna move us along to collective visioning, and I have a series of questions. I've already copied and pasted these onto the collective board, so I'll drop the link in a moment again, or if you already have it in your screen. There's 4 quadrants, and you can pick a question. You can go through all the questions, but like I mentioned early on, like I am trying to figure these things out too. I'm asking these questions. I've been asking these questions since since CIIS and now, and like how can I really continue to weave things together? So the first question is, how can we cultivate spaces that nurture embodiment, community, and collective liberation? And if those exist for you, how do you sustain them? The second question is, what responsibilities or roles do we have as activist scholars in such precarious times? What practices can help us stay accountable to each other? When I was imagining this and that I could hold and facilitate a container for us to think through together and take whatever was useful and leave what wasn't, ultimately, what I hope we walk away with is that this is a collective, like we need each other more than ever. I feel like I keep hearing that every year as things just get harder. And also on the other side, things get, we're building people power. There's amazing collectives and projects taking place all over the world, and people finding how to imagine another world possible. So, what either helps you or what could help the collective stay accountable to each other? And the last question is, how can you stay close and connected to the relationships that make your scholarship possible? And if you're already doing that, would love to hear how you're doing that. Are you calling people daily? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you're staying connected. Are you integrating? One of the things I'm doing, for example, is creating a lot of virtual co-working spaces so that at least we're not completely isolated doing things together, but at least there's a level of connection even while we're doing the very often isolating work of being in academia, reading and writing. I can't be talking. I try, it's not productive, but talking at the same time. So these are questions and offerings that I'm curious about, that I'm really trying to figure out how to do. And I appreciate both what Professor Villanueva brought in terms of like maybe your path looks different and that is completely okay. And what John Heidel brought in terms of the pace maybe looks different. So we'll spend some time. I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to pull up the website. Oh, there was more on here. That's great. And I'll drop the website link on the chat too. And if at any point there's something you wanted to share and you haven't been able to, like, please keep using the chat, or maybe the website tool will be a place where you feel more comfortable sharing. So in this, if you zoom out, like I'm going to do so now, if you go, oops, where's my, oh, and then you get the cursor on the top left. If you go to the left, there's the same question I asked. If you go to the other corner, there's another question. And then down here on the bottom right, and then on the amazing, the luminous moose has already started. So I'm really, yeah, one of the things that John Heidel has helped me think, we're in the same PhD program and it's a comrade collaborator, like all of you, is how do we invoke play? So this is just a time for us to, there's shit is fucked up in every corner that I look at, and there's also so much that's birthing and living and becoming in those places too. So feel free to answer all the questions, pick one that you want, and maybe we can also keep learning from each other and what folks are sharing. So I'll put some music and we'll spend about 8 minutes here, and then we'll just wrap up after this with any closing phrases, words you might be walking away with. I also welcome feedback always. So I'll leave my contact information if you want to reach out or have any feedback or want to share. So I love seeing all the, and if anyone needs help with this, please put on the chat or unmute yourself, and yeah, we can bear witness to what folks are putting. It's all anonymous. So if you do want to name yourself, you could put your name, but otherwise it's just collective knowledge and wisdom, because we all have it. We all have embodied knowledge. We all have embodied wisdom, and it shows up so differently. I'm gonna put a little music. I feel like we're not yes, draw. You can zoom in and out as much as you need. So if you need it like much bigger for yourself, you can zoom in. If you want to get out and go to another area, you can do that. I'm kind of leaving it pretty small just so we can see the engagement that's going on everywhere. I also love that this is anonymous, because I hope it's giving you permission to like do whatever you want and like say, or I mean, obviously respectful, but like, we're focused on the content, not so much like the how we are sharing. And then just a few, maybe just a few minutes here. We're gonna wrap up soon. You're also done. I invite you to look through what people have shared. Thank you, Natalie. That was part of the closing, what you're walking away with, literally. Leave this on for another minute, and then I'll bring this to a closing of this journey. Actually, All right, as we start wrapping up, I'm just gonna read some of the stuff. Not all, I can't read all of it, but like some of the, how can we cultivate spaces that nurture embodiment, community, and collective liberation? So much wisdom here. Bring vegan snacks to spaces, yes, because if they're allergen friendly, we can all eat. Destigmatize discomfort, delink discomfort from safety. Yes, slowing down, asking for permission to feel, to offer feedback, to listen. Thank you so much for sharing. What practices can help us stay accountable to each other? Focusing on relationship over identity, learning to receive feedback and extending grace while maintaining boundaries. Oof, my life's work. The boundary part, not, anyways, all of it actually. Offering loving, generative feedback versus hard critique. Yes, how do we help each other stay in the conversation? Listening, lots around listening and learning. Okay, we're also thinking through about how to stay close and connected to scholarship. It's real. Maybe that's where we can continue to reflect on. Again, I'm trying to figure it out myself. What responsibilities or roles do we have as activist scholars in such precarious times? Showing up, cultivating a space, a capacity to feel, staying present, staying with it, continued learning, cultivating cross-generationally, absolutely. Yes. Oh, there's a precious heart on our intentions or offerings. Enjoy a mango. Yes. Yes. So I'll leave this here for us. And in closing, I put in the chat if you wish to check out what is one word or phrase that you're carrying forward. Natalie, before they left, shared empowered and nourishment. Like, thank you to Natalie. I'm very honored to be here with all of you. So I feel like part of what it means to intervene is also to make space to say hi, to check in, to close out, to hear each other, even if it means that it takes more time. I was negotiating that earlier. I feel like as educators, we're always like, where do we put our time? But part of my intervention is making space so people feel heard, so people can share, so that we can bear witness. And of course, I wish it was in person. We could be in the flesh, share food. It's a big way that I connect with people, but hopefully virtually, you felt connected in this moment to familiar and new faces. And just thank you so much again, Dr. Corwin and my beloved alumni program, for this invitation and this full circle moment. Not full that I figured it all out, but this moment of coming back to a place that really nourished me, and how can I continue to nourish other relationships and beings. So thank you all for learning with me and thinking with me today and visioning together. I hope you can take whatever was useful, leave what wasn't. I welcome feedback. It's the first time I try to start really integrating different worlds. So thank you for the love. And I'm can be around if anyone has questions. But thank you so much to all of you and Dr. Corwin for this really special invitation.
Thank you so much, Karla. Thank you to everybody who is here. This was really beautiful. And Karla, I love this bridging of spaces of people in your lives. Thank you so much for your offering. Thank you for everything today. I love seeing what everyone's leaving with. It's really, really beautiful. Inspiration, nourishment, feeling tender, inquisitive, grounded. Thank you so, so, so much for your wisdom and learning with us and teaching us and being in community. Thank you, Karla. You're amazing. We appreciate you. I am one more time going to put the events in here. I want to also, this one isn't in that link, but I'm very excited because Linda Kikivish is going to join us April 10th. And so that'll be on, oops, sorry, I written it. April 10th. She's going to be talking about her recent book on the history of Palestine, going all the way back to 1492. So, really, really good stuff. That'll be April 10th. And just one last sharing of gratitude to all of you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being in community. Thank you, every one of you, for making the world better every day. Thank you. Thank you, Karla. You're amazing.
Thank you. All of you are too. We reflect each other. So thank you. Oh, I wish I could hug you all.
Amanda, Amy, good to see you all. Yeah, hugs.
Love you all.